next time I go up there, I need to meet Stanley.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. I won't ride no horses with you, but I'll
You don't have to
him.
ride him, but I'll tie him up and I'll give you his hairbrush and we can brush him together and
No. Why would I ride him? Then who would you ride? You ride Stanley, and then I would watch you and be clapping the whole time. And then when you're like, hey, Yenny, do you want to grab like another horse? I'll be like, no. Where's the brush? I'll brush their hair. And that's it. Because I won't do it.
That's fine.
I won't do it.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I know and I respect your limits. So also from our epiphany the other day, I'm already looking at like sealable like baking dishes for baking that peach cobbler to fly it up to you for your wedding. I'm like
everyone, Sarah came up with the best idea to get me her peach cobbler that I've been asking for what episode is this? 25? Oh my God, this is our 25th episode.
Oh my gosh, look at us.
Oh. Look at us. Well, yeah, for 25 episodes, I've been asking for a peach cobbler. She hasn't given me any, but now she will. So for my wedding next year. I mean, okay, hold on. I still got to wait.
You do have to wait, but I mean, like, I don't trust the postage service or the postal service to like ship a cobbler up to you. They're going to rattle it. They're going to drop it. They're going to shake it. I don't trust it. So when I fly up to you, a peach cobbler will be my carry-on.
Yay! That's the wedding gift, peach cobbler. I think that would be a wonderful wedding gift. So to be honest, I'll take it. All right. With that being said, welcome to Story Sirens, the podcast where we deep dive into our favorite myths, legends, and folklore from around the world. I'm Yenny.
And I'm Sarah. And today, we really are taking a dive. We will be focusing on magical beings found in the ocean.
Sirens?
We covered sirens in episode 2, Yenny.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Oh, Atlantis.
That was episode 10.
Okay, but we can always go back to it. I have so many things I can continue to say.
I know you can. We will revisit it later, because, that was only 15 episodes ago. We need to give it a little bit more time. Let it breathe.
Okay. Sarah, then what are we covering today, huh?
Selkies.
Whaties?
The Selkie is a shape-shifting creature and a type of merfolk. The Selkie appears as a seal in the water and on land, can shed its seal skin or seal coat and take the form of a beautiful human. They come to shore and shed their seal skins in order to sunbathe on the beaches or dance around the bonfires or under the light of a full moon.
So they're kind of like sea hippies.
Yeah, they kind of are. I love it.
They kind of are. I love it.
So, as humans, Selkies appear to be graceful, athletic, kind-natured, and often flirtatious. Humans that cross paths with them are often captivated by them and fall in love or into obsession. An important note to remember is that without their seal coat, the Selkie cannot return to the ocean. Selkies love to sing and dance in their human bodies, and some are even able to see the future. They cannot change it, but they can warn others of what is coming. Selkies appear in Scottish and Irish myths, as well as some Icelandic legends, and there are even similar beings in Inuit and Chinook folklore. In the Orkney Islands, where gray seals are most common, the larger crested seal and harp seals were often considered to be Selkie folk. Unlike European sirens or the Inuit Qualupilut, Selkies are generally benevolent creatures. There are stories of Selkies rescuing children who have been caught in riptides or fishermen who have been caught in storms. With this in mind, it is of course best to never anger or hurt a Selkie. While there is a history in mythology of Selkies being taken advantage of, there's an equally long history of the violence of Selkie vengeance. Keep in mind, in Scotland, the killing of a seal is believed to bring disaster and misfortune.
Well, why would you even want to harm them? Honestly, they're so cute and harmless. And they've got a lot to worry about with killer whales anyways.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like half of the other animal kingdom that wants to kill them.
Exactly.
So I'm just like, they don't do nothing.
Right, don't
Leave
hurt them.
Leave them alone. Please.
So, a common story in Selkie folklore is the story of the compelled wife, or the stolen seal coat. In most versions of this story, a lonely fisherman becomes enamored with a beautiful Selkie woman basking in the sun or dancing, and manages to steal her coat while she sleeps or is otherwise distracted. He hides it from her and tells her since she cannot return to the ocean, she must become his wife. Frequently in the story, the pair have children together, and while the Selkie wife loves her children, she longs for the ocean. She or her children eventually find the seal coat, and the Selkie runs away, returning once more to the ocean, and the human wife is never to be seen again. In some variations, when the children are alone on the beach, they are greeted by a large seal. Hundreds of these Selkie wife tales have been recorded from Ireland to Iceland.
I want a Selkie husband. Sarah, do you think Alex is a mythological creature? I feel like he is.
Oh, he could be. Is he a strong swimmer, and does he like to sing and dance in the moonlight?
Best 2 out of 3. So maybe.
Perfect. So within the Faroe Islands, the island Kalsoy has a grisly version of this tale. It follows the usual blueprint. Man sees Selkie woman, man steals Selkie coat, man marries Selkie woman, they have children, woman finds her seal coat and returns to the sea. However, the human man is enraged that his wife has left. He sets sail and finds her Selkie husband and her Selkie children. In his rage, he kills the family, leaving only the Selkie woman as the survivor. Filled with grief, she calls down a curse on the people of the island. She declares that the island will suffer so many deaths that if the dead joined hands, they would be able to encircle the entire island. As people died, news spread of the Selkie's curse, and the Selkie's human husband became an outcast amongst his neighbors. We warned you about that Selkie vengeance.
You know what? This is a hashtag good for her. Because, curse that whole island, baby. What kind of rage problem must you have that you decide to kill a bunch of seals?
Right?
I don't know.
I don't know. That bothers me. That deeply bothers me.
You know, there's a few things. This guy would probably come out in 60 Minutes or some sort of Netflix documentary. And then you see the Selkie woman there I told him.
Right.
That the island was going to get cursed. And there it is. And then you have random people coming out in the Netflix. I watch too many of these.
All right. So another gruesome story with a somewhat happier ending comes from the Shetland Islands. A group of sailors found several seals basking on the rocks in the noonday sun. As the seals dozed, the sailors jumped from their boats onto the rocks and hit the seals over the heads to stun them. The seals were unconscious as the sailors cut away the sealskins, desiring the blubber underneath that would make them quite a bit of money.
Question. So the blubber of seals is what makes the money. That's why everybody wants to take the skin.
The pelt makes money and the blubber makes money. So you get both and can make a fortune off of both.
Got it.
So as the sailors finished their violent deed, the human bodies of the Selkies were revealed, and the sailors left them unconscious on the rocks. Then suddenly, the clear day grew cloudy and windy, and the sea was whipped into violent waves. The sailors rushed back to their boat with their prize and set sail, leaving behind one sailor who just wasn't quick enough to get back onto the boat.
Sinbad?
Sinbad, is that you?
Sinbad, is that you?
Were you trying to make your fortune again when you should have been staying home?
Oh my gosh.
So the sea around this sailor rose higher and higher, and he clung to the rocks. As he cried out in terror, the Selkies his crew had attacked woke up, and they in turn began to cry out at the violence that had been done to them. Without their skins, they couldn't return to the ocean. The Selkie with the greatest grief was Olavantinus, who grieved that he would be forever separated from his wife.
Question.
Mm-hmm.
So, they skinned the seal.
Right.
The seal has no skin.
Yeah.
And then a human appears.
Yeah.
So, wouldn't they be bloody? So you're telling me that maybe a Selkie has to grab a knife and skin themselves? You know.
There are versions of the tale where it's more like the human form puts on a coat and then, sort of just shifts into a Selkie. There are other versions where they put on a cape and they sort of shift into a Selkie.
Yeah, but this one
in this
skin.
story, they cut the skin off and reveal a human underneath it.
I wish people could see my face.
It is gruesome. It is gruesome.
All right, then.
Yeah.
Well, let's continue the story with Olavantinus.
Right. So soon, more Selkie folk appeared from the sea and climbed upon the rocks to comfort their wounded friends. Among them was Gioga, Olavantinus' mother. She, in turn, saw the human sailor who was shivering from the ocean spray and violent winds. Approaching him, she offered him a deal. She would take him back to the Shetland Islands on the condition that upon their arrival, he would find and return Ollivantinus's coat. The human sailor knew he would die on the rocks without assistance, so he promised Gioga that he would do as she asked. So Gioga put on her own seal coat, prompted the sailor to hold onto her back, and swam with him to his home.
Another question, because, this one has me thinking a lot of things. That's got to be a wild ride,
right?
First of all. Second of all, he's already shivering. I don't see how jumping back into the water and then traveling miles back home in this, wind and stuff is going to be... What about hypothermia?
Folklore logic, Yenny.
I have so many questions.
Lots of folklore logic here. So, upon reaching the shore, the sailor found his ship, stole aboard, and returned to Gioga with Ollivantus's coat.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. So that's the end of that one. Now, there are other stories, such as the tale The Seal Hunter, where Selkies kidnap men who have harmed them and force them to help save their wounded brethren.
I'm not mad.
Right? I'm not mad about it either. Selkies are very good at returning like for like, be it repaying a good deed with favors and help, or repaying an evil deed with revenge. So, friends, in case the previous stories have prompted you to think that there is no love between Selkies and humans, I would beg the contrary. In many tales of humans and Selkies in romantic relationships, their love is true, but their natures pull them apart.
Oh my gosh, that sounds like a great book.
Right? So, in one legend, it was said that a jealous sea witch cursed the children of the king and queen of the sea. The curse turned the royal children into seals, and only one day a year could they turn into their former shape. So once a year, the children would go to the shore and shed their sealskins and dance and enjoy their human forms. This continued for years and years. It happened one day that a fisherman was walking home. He was the father of 2 small children, and he had recently lost his wife.
The trope.
Right?
The trope.
The
trope.
The widowed husband. As he crossed the beach, he found a fine seal pelt. He looked around, trying to discern if another fishing vessel had left it. Finding no obvious owner of the pelt, he decided to take it home with him. His plan was to try to sell the pelt and use the money to hire someone to help him around the house and help with his children. That night, a great storm came, and the fisherman told his children stories around the fireplace to keep them from being afraid of the wind and thunder. What startled everyone in the house was a sudden knock on the door. When the fisherman opened the door, there was a bedraggled-looking woman standing there, her hair a wild mess from the wind, and clutching a dirty scrap of cloth around her naked shoulders. She was shivering and obviously frightened, and the fisherman urged her to come inside. The moment she set foot in his home, she collapsed to the floor unconscious. The fisherman quickly found warm blankets, wrapped the strange woman up in them, and laid her beside the fire to warm her up.
10 Books says that that's the Selkie looking for her skin.
You know what? I'm just going to let you keep that bet. The next morning, the fisherman and his children woke to the sounds of movement and activity in their little kitchen. When they investigated the sound, they found the strange woman, clean and wrapped up in the blankets the fisherman had bundled her in, making tea and porridge for the family. She smiled at them and thanked them for their hospitality and for sheltering her during the storm. She asked the fisherman if she could stay with his family, since she had nowhere else to go. The fisherman was more than happy to have her stay, for she was the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. But he asked her where she had come from. She couldn't answer him.
No, I wonder why.
I know, not suspicious at all.
No sus. He's like, fuck it, she's hot.
Right.
It's fine.
Right. So she stayed. With every passing day, their love grew, and finally they were married. Listeners, this is mutual. This is mutual.
Yeah, this is mutual.
The woman could not return to her life in the ocean without her seal coat, so she embraced her life on the land. The fisherman was so enchanted by his bride that he had completely forgotten about the seal coat he had locked away in a chest to sell.
I mean, Hold on. How would he have known? She couldn't tell him anything.
Oh, yeah. But, he never brings it up. He's just forgotten about it, especially since his goal was to sell it in order to hopefully hire someone to help him with his children.
Like a nanny.
Yeah, he was just like, I found a wife. Oh, my gosh. That's kind of a good distraction, I would think.
Fair.
So the woman treated the fisherman's children like they were her own, and eventually gave birth to her own children. The family grew in joy and in prosperity. She tended to the house and children during the day while the fisherman worked, and by night she would sing songs and the fisherman would tell stories. One day in winter, when the skies were gray and the wind was whipping up the waves, the woman begged her husband to stay home with her and the children. He told her not to worry, that he knew how to read the sea and he would be fine on his ship out in the open water. The woman pleaded with him again and again, but still her husband left.
Hey, real quick, isn't it true that Selkies can see the future?
They
so maybe
can.
she saw that something's happening.
Right? An icy wind blew ceaselessly, rattling the windows and the doors. The woman stared out the window, fearing for her husband's safety and envisioning the worst possible outcomes. Or maybe it was a vision.
Oh.
Meanwhile, the children were playing throughout the house and happened to find an old key they didn't recognize. The oldest said it must belong to the chest that was in her parents' room. So the children hurried to unlock the chest, looking for treasures. The children opened it and pulled out the most beautiful seal pelt they had ever seen. The moment the pelt was outside of the chest, the woman snapped out of her terrible daydreams and knew that something terrible had happened to her husband, but that with her coat, she could save him. She took the pelt from the children, kissed them each on the head, and ran out of the house and towards the ocean.
Can I just say how kind of morbid this is? Think about it. We just talked about this. Her skin is in a box. At first I thought, well, maybe it's like, like a double coat, like our dogs,
Yes.
It's a double coat. I wouldn't mind having like a little sweater of Guinness's hair in my closet.
Right, that'd be fine. That'd be fine.
I have a bunch of hair all over my floor.
I just bathed Frank Church. There are tufts of hair everywhere. I'm like,
everywhere. And that's fine. But my husband or wife's skin? That's gruesome. That is so gruesome. Also, real quick, like, she wasn't surprised that her skin was in that box. Like, she didn't have, like, a second thought. Like, holy shit, I've been his wife for, like, 7 years or something. What did she clean in the house? Because I'm the type of I'm nosy.
Oh,
so
yeah,
if I
for
see
sure.
Alex have, like, a box, I'm like, what is that?
Yeah, what's in the box?
What is that box?
What's in the box?
I need to know what's in the box. I don't know.
I
have my thoughts.
I do love the fact that there's like a certain level of gruesomeness that is just accepted in myths and legends. Like, I mean, it's back to that folklore logic. It's kind of like
either someone gets eaten.
Right, yeah, just things that you accept. And like the other character's like, oh yeah, no, this is normal. That's fine. This is normal.
This is a Wednesday.
No big deal. Exactly. Yeah, it's just a Tuesday. Yeah, Jared and I, just as an aside, because Jared and I do like some anime, I will emphasize some, but
you do well way more than I do.
Well, but we do joke about like there is a certain level of what we call anime bullshittery that you just have to accept with some shows. Where it's just things are silly or ridiculous, kind of like, oh, well, why is everybody's hair spiky in Dragon Ball? And Jared's like, well, because they have superpowers. And I'm like, okay.
My question is, why does every woman have double D's that jiggle when she breathes?
Yeah. The anatomy is not anatomying.
Listen, they don't do that, guys. They don't do that. I don't breathe, and all of a sudden, like, my tits, like, go up and down in, like, circular motions. That's another thing. How does that...
Yeah.
I want to talk to all these animators. Yeah, I have questions.
Moments like that, and then, like, certain types of relationships, I'm like, nope, death of the show for me. I'm not watching it. I'm not doing it. I don't want these siblings to kind of sort of have a quasi-romance going on. Absolutely not.
Oh, my God. So Stop right now. There is a movie about siblings who like love each other. They're like twins or something. And then like I know you're giving me the face, and I was disgusted with myself because I kept fucking watching because the story was so good. And I'm like, what is this? It's an anime. And it was like, I cried. I cried. I was like, what kind of weird
horrible.
psychology have I done? It's terrible.
Yenny, I think we need to have a discussion about your moral compass after this episode.
No. I have a moral compass. I swear. I don't know. All I know is that the end scene, like he gets into a train ready to go like live life with her, I think it is, or something like that.
Congratulations on having a higher anime bullshittery tolerance than I do, because that's just, I can't do it.
It was a one-time thing. I've never seen it again. It's stuck in my brain. I don't like it, but I think like it was integral to this episode.
All right. So,
anyway, back to the story.
Anyway, the Selkie woman puts on her skin, and that's what Yitty has a problem with, not siblings falling in love and marrying each other.
I never said I'm into that.
I know.
I just said that movie was pretty good.
All right, so the seal woman puts on her magical seal coat and runs back towards the ocean. Once more in her seal form, she swam easily through the stormy waters. Sure enough, she found the wreckage of her husband's ship and found him clinging to a piece of debris. She pulled him back to shore, where he was found by his neighbors and brought home to his children and a warm fire. Sadly, the Selkie could not rejoin her family. The old curse of the witch had said she could only go to shore 1 day per year, and by the time she had returned to the ocean, she had been with the fishermen for several years. For the rest of her life, she would remain a seal. Now, in other versions of the story, she may return to land for 1 night after spending 7 years as a seal.
Sarah, I thought you said this was a happy ending.
Well, compared to the other stories, it is. Where we've got, cursed islands and murder and all this sort of stuff.
Wait, because does the fisherman even know that was his wife that rescued him?
I'm going to assume yes. I don't know. Especially, I don't know.
How do you tell that to your kids? Sorry, kids.
Especially since I will say in a lot of these myths, like the humans in the stories know what a Selkie is. They know if you take a seal's coat, or if you take a Selkie's coat, they have to stay as a beautiful human. This fisherman just happened to be like, oh my gosh, there's nobody around here. This is beautiful. I'm gonna sell it and provide for my family. Oh, look, a wife. I provided for my family.
Oh, there you go. Fair enough. So instead of a lucky rabbit's foot,
it's a
lucky Selkie skin.
There we go. I love it. But that doesn't make a keychain as well. So the marketing.
That would be a gruesome.
That would be also really heavy. That's not good for your steering column. Too much weight on your steering column.
I love that. It's not that it's skin. It's not gonna go well in my steering wheel column.
It's gonna weigh down.
And then you're talking shit about me liking an incest anime. It was one time, and then you're like, oh well, the skin. It'll be heavy for my keys. Come on, girl, keep reading this shit.
All right, so maybe y'all are wondering about the children of the Selkie bride. Ah! If this is your first time joining Story Sirens, thank you. We're not usually like this, but also I feel like we are kind of usually like this, so welcome. Welcome.
I was worried that this episode was going to be short, and now it's just stupidity the whole time.
It is. Anywho. It is. I love it. All right, so
we continue.
The children of Selkies and humans usually take after their human parent. Rarely are there myths where the child is a full Selkie. Half-Selkie children often have webbed fingers and toes, an affinity for the sea, are excellent swimmers, and are often wonderful singers like their Selkie parent. Stories focusing on male Selkies tend to be short and anecdotal. Most legends involve a woman in an unhappy marriage meeting a strange, handsome man in the springtime, falling in love with him and meeting him every subsequent spring. In these legends, the Selkie can only turn into his human shape during the spring months.
Now, that sounds like a Hallmark or TLC movie that I would watch.
Same. Other legends say that a woman could summon her Selkie lover if she cried exactly 7 tears into the ocean. Lastly, it was often believed that if a woman went missing at sea, it was because her Selkie lover had taken her to become his wife. Now, many historians debate where the Selkie myth originated. Some claim it first appeared in Ireland, some say Scotland, and others say the myth comes from the Sami people. In fact, Some legends came from the belief that Finnish and Sami travelers were themselves Selkies due to the seal pelt coats they wore in their kayaks. These ocean travelers would remove their seal coats to dry them at camp. And naturally, if the coat went missing, would you want to continue your journey in frigid waters? I think not.
I agree.
So, other origin stories of the Selkie involve the theory that Selkies are the reincarnated souls of men and women who were lost at sea. Scottish traveler Duncan Williamson, a musician, storyteller, and tradition bearer, wrote in Tales of the Seal People,
"The importance of the Selkie is its parts in the other world, or afterlife. For instance, if you were a fisherman and you lived with your daddy in a little croft by the seaside, and you had your brother, your grandfather, or your uncle lost at sea, what would you do if their body was not found? But if you thought for one instant that he never returned because he had joined the seal people, he'd become one of them, then how would you feel? Now this is the legend. That's why it was told, to make people feel comforted if their loved ones were never found. They probably joined the seal people, became seal folk, and you'll see them again." Well, that's kind of sweet.
Right? Yeah, I think that's very sweet.
But then that could also breed, like, waiting for your long-lost kin to come, and they're never going to come because they did die in sea.
Right.
And so this is kind of, I don't know how
Yeah, you want to finish that thought?
It's just like, then they're going to be like, oh, well, I guess one year Dad's just going to come back from the sea people and he's going to meet me again. And so you live your whole life thinking your dad's alive as a seal. Then that'll harbor some sort of feelings. Why does not my dad want to come be with me anymore? Is his seal wife hotter than mom? What's going on here? These are the thoughts that I have.
Oh, man. You've got some valid thoughts, but I can only say they cannot stand up against folklore logic.
Yeah, I guess.
All right, so as I mentioned earlier, Selkies are usually kind-hearted and gentle beings, often to their own peril when it comes to humanity. It is believed that they are often given a more generous nature than their mermaid and siren counterparts for the simple reason that humanity is familiar with seals. Fen folk live in the depths of the ocean, making them unknowable, strange, mysterious, and often frightening.
Or they may just be the daughter of King Triton, completely in awe of the human world, ends up saving a drowning yet very dashing young man, and subsequently falls in love with the prince of the nearby kingdom and becomes queen.
That works.
And then has a daughter who then also gets, you get
I'm tracking. I get it.
Yeah.
But the communities that had frequent Selkie sightings and encounters were the communities that were used to seals as their aquatic neighbors. In short, seals were better known, making the Selkie less frightening. After all, the word Selkie is a diminutive of the Scot word for seal, selk. In short, Selkies combine the familiar with the otherworldly, the known with the unknowable, and meet us where the tide touches the shore. They are a reminder to be gracious to other living creatures, to be generous, to be kind, and that anger is a last resort. So the next time you see a seal in the wild, admire it and give it space. It might be a seal folk after all.
Also, please don't try to woo the seal. Let's remember this is folklore. You might not have a woman appear. Instead, you might have the authorities appear. So, with that being said, Sarah, thank you for teaching us today about Selkies. Shall we dive into modern media?
Let's do it. The animated film Song of the Sea tells the story of 10-year-old Ben and his little sister Saoirse. When magical beings seem drawn to the little girl, who is herself a Selkie, Ben must confront his own grief and anger to save her, save his family, and perhaps save magic as a whole.
The 1947 short story Sealskin Trousers by Eric Linklater takes the story of the Selkie and the Selkie's magical garment and turns the classic myth upside down, combining the supernatural with the scientific.
The earlier mentioned storyteller Duncan Williamson has several Selkie and Selkie-inspired stories in his work, Tales of the Seal People, Scottish Folk Tales. He even recounts the story a lighthouse keeper friend told him of how a strange and beautiful woman rescued him shortly after he had rescued a seal pup.
The children's book Selkie by Gillian McClure tells the story of a little boy befriending a Selkie. It's adorable and the artwork is charming. All right, guys, your siren call. Make some popcorn, grab a blanket,
And maybe some tissues.
and watch the animated film Song of the Sea by the Irish film studio Cartoon Saloon. And with that, we let you go. Goodbye.
Bye!
Thanks for listening to Story Sirens. You can follow us on Instagram at Story Sirens Podcast. Want to support us? Send us a cup of Ko-fi by searching ko-fi.com/storysirens. We've got lots of treats for those who become siren seekers. All research materials can be found in the episode summary. Music by Donald Guzzi and artwork by Alexis Torres. Story Sirens is a Feather and Fin production. See you soon.